What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ty from Ty Drives, and sitting before us is the 2025 Nissan Pathfinder. And we're going to take a look at all of the features this has to offer, starting on the exterior. We'll check out what powers it. We'll then see how much cargo space we have, because it's a pretty sizable SUV with 3 rows of seating. We'll then check out all 3 rows of seating, starting with the third and making our way forward to the first row to kind of check out all the technology. And in case you're wondering by now, this is not your normal Pathfinder. This is actually the Rock Creek trim level, which is obviously the more off-road focused trim. So it's a really cool looking design, nicely packaged car. And we're going to be taking this out for a test drive as well, but it will be in a separate video. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video, because I'll provide you a link to that one, or just head on over to Ty Drives to check it out. But let's get right off to the races here, and we'll start off with the features on the exterior. We kind of have these typical kind of V-shaped headlights for the Nissans. Up top we have the LED daytime running lights, and kind of in the middle you'll see the LED high and low beams. Looks very nice, all illuminated. And then you also see the incandescent turn signals. Taking a step back, you see quite a bit of the kind of flat black there at the bottom. You can also see some LED fog lights and a nice glossy black grille, kind of with these 3 silver slats that the Pro 4X or Rock Creek versions of Nissans seem to come with. Looks pretty good. Just below the Nissan emblem, we do have a camera. This car does have 360 cameras. The hood is kind of upright, and it is a little bit of a larger vehicle. Again, 3 rows, so we have a kind of taller hood with some creases that go down into the grille there, and lots of flat black accents. So I guess the kind of theory here is to make this car look rugged, but also make it actually rugged too. So the theory is, if you're going down a gravel trail like this, or you're going through the woods, branches might stick out, rocks might kick up. So this kind of flat black will kind of protect that beautiful green obsidian paint color. Take a look at that in the sunlight. It's a beautiful color. Down here we have these really rugged styled wheels. They measure up at 18 inches, and they're wrapped in some pretty meaty all-terrain tires. Take a look at the tread on these Toyota tires, and they measure up at 265/60. It's almost kind of got this beadlock pattern to it without actually being a beadlock wheel. We've got the Rock Creek emblem at the bottom, more of that flat black cladding with the Pathfinder printed out down there. As we get up here, we see more glossy black kind of surrounding our windows on the B-pillar and whatnot. And the mirrors look nice too. They do have a blind spot warning. The camera built in at the bottom for the 360 view, and a LED strip for the turn signals. You can find smart key entry on both the front door handles. Just tap the little button to lock and unlock. Nice large rear door to make entry and exit into the kind of second and third row seats very easy. The upper seat, part of this car, as we can see, we have this pretty beefy roof rack. It's all metal. It's kind of got this like spray and bed liner texture to it, and this comes standard. So it's both a roof rail, and it's got 3 crossbars and these little cool hoops, so that you can kind of tie down whatever you'd like up there. We've got our fuel door on the driver's side with a capless filler. And the rear lights are partial LEDs, kind of like the headlights. So the parts that are LEDs are the tail lights and the brake lights, and then the rest, kind of the turn signals and reverse lights, are just the regular incandescent bulbs, but it's got a nice combination of both. Again, looks pretty good, all illuminated. We've got the blacked out emblems back here. Huge print for the Pathfinder name, and pretty big print for the Rock Creek emblem there too. And just below that, we have the kind of popper for the trunk. We have parking sensors at the back, and your reversing cameras just above where you put your license plate. Now, the Rock Creek does come standard with a towing package too, which gives you the ability to tow 6,000 pounds, which is no small weight for a car this size. So that's pretty cool. And before we go any further, I'd like to give a huge thanks to my friends at Crabtree Nissan of Middlebury, Connecticut for providing this car for filming. One more thing I want to touch on, the window sticker is kind of an unusual place on this car. $47,150 sticker price. I think that's pretty darn good if you ask me, and we'll see if it's worth it kind of throughout the video. Now, next thing is I want to hear from you guys, the viewers. What do we think of the styling on the Rock Creek? I personally love these kind of ruggedified kind of SUVs. Again, let me know what you think. So, popping the hood of the Pathfinder, surprisingly you do need a prop to hold it up, and it'll go right up there. But we find a 3.5 liter V6 with no turbos, very simple engine design, as you know, lots of competitors to this car have gone to a turbocharged 4-cylinder. This still has a nice traditional 3.5 liter V6, and it produces some pretty healthy numbers: 295 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque, which actually on the Rock Creek is up 11 horsepower and up 11 pound-feet of torque than any of the other Pathfinder models, simply because they suggest that you use premium fuel on the Rock Creek trimmable. Now, I'm not sure if that's associated with the towing package, or maybe the all-terrain tires require a little bit more power. I'm not too sure how that works, but I'm pretty sure it's got to be the same engine, and they're just getting a little bit more horsepower out of it because you're running it on premium gas. So that's kind of interesting. But it does come all hooked up to a traditional 9-speed automatic. So, you know, a lot of Nissans have a CVT transmission. This one is hooked up to a traditional 9-speed automatic, and you can choose between front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive on all of the models except for the Rock Creek, where all-wheel drive comes standard. And take a look at that, no engine cover. You can kind of see all the inner workings of the engine. And what confused me a little bit is because right here you have the washer fluid, and right here you have the coolant, and it almost looks like they're one container here, but they are separate. I thought that was a little bit funny, but we will definitely test out this engine and see if it's got enough power on our test drive and acceleration test. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Let's take a listen to this thing at the tailpipes. Let's take a look at the cargo area on the Pathfinder. Now, on the Rock Creek trim, the trunk is fully powered, and there's a huge opening back here, and obviously we have 3 rows of seating, so there's quite a bit of space. Now, I left one side of the third row seat up so that you can see how much space there is behind the third row to the kind of lip to the cargo area, and it's actually a pretty decent amount. Now, you can actually recline these third row seats too. You just pull the handle up and you can recline it. If you need a little bit more storage space, you can recline it a little bit less. And the way you fold them down is just pull on the headrest there and just kind of push the seat right on down. Now, you can seat 3 people across in the third row, and now that you can see with both sides of the third row folded, you have a lot of space back here. It's nice and wide open, and they even give you this nice floor mat with the Rock Creek trim, and there's quite a bit of storage underneath the cargo floor too, so keep that in mind. We have grocery bag hangers and tie downs kind of each corner of the trunk, and you can see a little bit of the third row amenities. There's some cup holders back here, and also air vents and illumination back here. Once you're done with the trunk, we have 2 options and 2 separate buttons, one to close the trunk and lock the vehicle, or one to just close the lid. All right, let's get our first glance at the interior with the rear seats here. Now, we've got a huge door and it almost opens at 90 degrees, so that's good. Very easy ingress and egress for the back here. Now, everything is kind of black, so we have this kind of charcoal interior, except we have some orange stitching, which is pretty cool. But the door panels are all black back here. It is hard to touch materials, but where it counts on the armrest is nice and soft. And there's quite a bit of storage back here too. So we have a 6-speaker audio system on the Rock Creek trim. Down below, right next to the speaker, we have some storage. We also have kind of 2 buckets of storage, one with a cup holder and a little bit of storage there on the top of the door. Now we're going to take a look at the third row seats. Now there is 2 ways to access the third row seats. There is a button right here which you press, it'll kind of electronically release and toss the seat forwards. Now if you press this button, it'll do the same thing. So that's a second way of kind of getting in and out of the third row seats. But while you're back here, pretty nice. We have even a headrest for the central passenger, which you don't see very often in the third row. And these seats are, you know, kind of half cloth, half leatherette material, which is pretty cool. And there's not too bad amount of space back here, especially since you can actually slide these seats back and forth to allow more space for the third row seats. So that's the third row. Now let's check out the second row seats with these awesome captain's chairs. A little bit more attention to detail on the second and first row seating with this kind of cool orange stitching, and nice pattern for the cloth, very soft and comfortable seats, and again half leatherette, half cloth. You also have some armrests that can fold down for either chair, which is very nice. And you also have this other handle here to fold them, to fold the seats down flat. Now again, this obviously being a pretty decently sized SUV, you have plenty of room back here. Now, I am 5'10" and I scooted this seat back pretty far just for filming purposes, and I still have plenty of space. Now, granted, this second row seat is all the way back, but you definitely have some space to move it forward and give the third row passengers some room back there. We have a full black headliner, definitely not much for blind spots in this car with this nice huge quarter window back there, nice visibility out the side. We have grab handles, air vents, and illumination for the second row. And speaking of air vents, we actually have our own climate control back here. So this is technically a 3-zone climate control car. For adjustments, we have a little LCD screen here, which will display your temperature adjustments, fan speed, and where you want the air to come out. So that's pretty nice. And we do have some charging back here, one USB-C and one regular USB, with a little center console mounted to the floor with storage and cup holders. Very nice. What do you say we check out the front next? Alright, so here we are finally at the driver's cockpit. Let's take a look at the driver's door, where the front doors do improve as far as materials go. So we now have kind of like soft touch leatherette up top with some orange stitching that runs the length of the door panel. We even have this cool kind of brushed aluminum look trim. It is plastic, but it looks like a kind of brushed aluminum trim. Obviously nice and soft where your elbow rests. And we have a bunch of controls for your mirror adjustments, lock, unlock, and your windows. Pretty large storage bin at the bottom of the door, and another speaker. Again, one of 6 speakers on the Rock Creek trim. We have a pretty cool looking air vent right here, and just below we have gauge dimmers, activation for the Pro Pilot Assist, and the rear trunk opening. We also have the release for the tilt and telescoping steering wheel, and the hood right there. Our pedals are nice, and take a look at these pretty cool looking Pathfinder Rock Creek branded all-weather floor mats. The driver's seat is fully powered, all your normal controls plus 2-way lumbar, and we have this Rock Creek stitching in the back of the seat. Pretty neat. And the passenger seat is manually adjusting. What do you say we hop in? Check out the rest. And we'll take a quick look at the cabin with everything off. Looks looks pretty nice. Nice rugged design, even though, you know, the regular Pathfinder will have this design too. It's got a nice kind of edgy, rugged design. So it's pretty cool looking, and the kind of Rock Creek takes it one step further. We have the 8-inch display on this particular car and a nice little display inside the middle of the gauges. But here goes the key. It is the newer style Nissan key fob with the logo up top. We have a remote start, lock, unlock, trunk release, and the panic alarm. And on the other side, we have a little switch here to pull out a physical key. Of course, we have push button start, and it's right here in your line of sight. So a lot of cars like hide it behind the steering wheel, but this one is right here. We get a nice gauge sweep and a pretty good listen at that 3.5 liter V6 when it starts up. But let's take a look at the steering wheel first, which has more of that orange stitching, and it's a nice smooth leather, and it's even got paddle shifters on the back. As far as buttons go, we have the audio volume here, skipping between different radio stations or songs. We have a roller dial and 2 buttons for the screen in the middle of the gauges, and this pages button also goes along with the middle of the gauges there. We also have our adaptive cruise control right here, and our safety systems that you can customize, voice commands, and Bluetooth telephone controls. So pretty simple buttons on the steering wheel. Now, just behind the steering wheel, we have a couple of stalks to activate your automatic high beams, your regular headlights, your fog lights, and your turn signals. And on the other side, we have our front and rear wipers. Now, let's take a look at our gauges. So, again, mostly physical gauges, which is nice, back to basics. We have our tachometer with the coolant temperature down below, our speedometer and gas gauge in there on the right side. Now, we have a nice kind of LCD display in the center, and again, we're going to be using this scroll wheel, the back and forth, and the little pages button to adjust it. So this is kind of, I guess you could say, the home screen of the gauge cluster. It'll kind of show you what's going on with the time and temperature up top, what's a digital speedometer, music information, odometer at the bottom, and then also what gear you're in and how many miles till empty on the right, right next to the gas gauge there. But we could scroll down to also kind of get a more simplified blank screen. We could scroll over kind of to see your trip computers here, and also a real-time and kind of average miles per gallon. That's pretty cool. You can scroll over to see the tire pressures, a timer with the start-stop, and also some all-wheel drive information. We also have a kind of dedicated music screen, a driver's assistance screen as well, 2 of them there. And over, you can also customize with some settings. So a pretty nice center gauge display there. It is definitely on the smaller side, with all kinds of cars nowadays having the fully digital dashes. But this is a nice, refreshing view at some real physical dials and gauges. Up top, we have a soft-to-the-touch dash, and this takes us down to our touchscreen. So there is, this is kind of the smaller setup, 8-inch display. You can upgrade to a little bit of a larger one, but for this particular Rock Creek, we have the 8-inch display, which is just fine. It's a very simple screen, and everything is all laid out. It's not confusing. You can't get lost in menus and things like that. And look at that, we still have a physical volume knob and 2 knobs, so that's pretty awesome. We have a couple of home screens you could choose from. You can customize the home menu on the first one, and you also have a clock. If you move over, this is kind of like a audio and kind of media home screen. And if you move over once more, that'll allow you to adjust your different sources. So AM, FM, Bluetooth, Sirius XM, and USB. You also have wireless Apple CarPlay, which is awesome. We have a dedicated phone menu right down here where you can pair one up. And we also have our audio screen, which we could tap on at the bottom. It'll show you what plays right here. You can select the source there, and kind of all your presets will show up right there with some different audio menus. Going back to home, we have the phone connections, information, and settings button, which we could really customize the look and appearance, and some different things on the screen. And that pretty much does it for the touchscreen. It's very, very simple, like I said before. It's functional, and it gets the job done, but it's not over the top and crazy confusing and the latest and greatest kind of thing, if you know what I mean. There are some shortcuts at the bottom for kind of like a day and night mode, skipping between different radio stations, getting to the audio, home menu, phone, and also bringing up the cameras, which is a great feature to have, kind of the press the camera button, especially if you're off-roading. Now, granted, the screen is kind of small, but the quality to the cameras is pretty great. You can see the front camera right now and the top down. If you press the camera button again, it'll kind of go to the passenger side, which is pretty cool. And it'll also pull up a kind of full screen front camera too, so that's pretty nice. Down below we have the start stop button, some pretty tiny air vents up top, and your hazards button. We have our climate controls, all physical buttons down here, which is great. We have physical buttons for your heated seats. Again, the 2 dials for your 2 zones up front, and then you can also adjust the rear climate control with this button, with these 3 top buttons here. We do have the outside air recirculating, fan speed, where you like the air to blow, and then obviously your defrosters right there. So very simple climate control. Just down here we kind of have your phone box, so we have an area to put your phone while you plug it in and charge with the USB or regular USB charging outlet or the 12 volt. We also have a little area perfect here to kind of stick your key in, and a couple of cup holders. We have our shifter, which is a kind of untraditional shifter. It is electronic, and it'll kind of go back into the neutral position no matter what gear you shift in. So if we go on into drive, you just press the side button and go straight down. That'll put you in drive, and if you bump it once more, that'll put you into the manual shifting mode, where you could shift up here with the paddle shifters. If you press that same side button and go up into reverse, the reversing camera will pop up with the top down, which is nice. And you just press the P at the top for park. A couple of other buttons and switch gear down here. Auto start stop button. We can turn that feature on and off right there. Nice and easy to access right from the shifter and the parking brake. And then we also have an auto hold functionality too. A huge selection of drive modes as well, ranging from kind of your sand mode, and it'll kind of show you right here what mode you're in. So we have sand. We also have mud and rut, snow, kind of automatic or normal driving mode, eco, sport, and towing mode. So quite a few of different kind of modes in this car. And right in the center we also have a hill descent option, which is awesome. We have a nice center console. It's nice and soft. We have more of the stitching and even the Pathfinder logo right here. And we can lift up on it. We have quite a bit of storage underneath. Passenger area is nice, soft to the touch with some stitching. You also have a little bit of storage. Actually, this goes in pretty deep with the Pathfinder logo. The glove box is lockable and has a pretty good amount of space. Again, manually adjusting passenger seat. We have grab handles all the way around, and our visors have a mirror and light with a card holder. Up top we have an SOS button and some illumination buttons. Also a pretty big place to put your sunglasses, and a pretty simple manual day and night mode mirror. And that pretty much does it for all the features on the 2025 Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek. Let's get this thing out on the road and see what it drives. Make sure you click that link that's popping up in your corner of your screen there to check out the test drive. And I thank you very much for watching.